to. We need like a monitor on top.
Yeah.
So yeah, like,
Well, who gives a fuck?
I guess we'll just keep it. Even though Cameron and I are kind of like angled this way, we'll just have a good.
Yeah.
If you're gonna talk, use your body. Don't use your neck. Like more.
Yeah,
like exactly. More like I'm actually like pretty comfy. I might bring a little bit in.
it's like a compass needle. You have to go across the center.
Use your nose. Yeah, use your nose as your compass needle. We're like,
Is it recording?
Are we recording?
I am lizard.
I'm the fucking lizard
Back
king.
to monkey.
Return to monkey. Return to monkey. All right.
Well,
Ready?
Is it starting?
It's been started.
Here we go.
Smash Mouth.
Action.
Okay. If you wanted to do your.
Hey, wait a minute. Why did it start with you looking at me? I thought you three were going to talk about stuff.
Jolly thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Oh.
Jolly Flight, check in.
Shock 1?
Is it here? What are we doing?
Say it with more gumption.
No, like what is. Remind me again. What is it? Chalk? Are we just saying
Okay.
chalk 1, chalk 2?
Close your eyes. Imagine a bunch of helicopters getting ready to take the taxiway. They've gone through all their checklists. Everything's done. Now they're organizing the flight. And so the lead bird would basically say, Jolly Flight, check in.
Shock 1.
Chalk 2.
Chalk 4.
Leads
Hit
up.
the
I can't
applause
remember that part.
part.
Okay. It was a 25% chance.
That's what Mike Nicholas did. He's like, we're all ready to go.
That was Mike's job.
Yeah, that's
it.
And
Mike, man.
the gas switch, left tank, right tank, left tank.
Thank you for your service, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for your service. Thank me for my service. Thank me for my service.
He was the first guy to get a shout out.
Yeah.
Oh, we
Think
weren't supposed to
about
use
that.
last names. Damn.
Well, that can be a post edit.
He's all right.
Just quack it
give
out.
It to me.
Like, Are we introducing ourselves?
Yeah, that's some good banter. Welcome to our immediate family who are listening to this.
That's the only people who will ever listen to this.
It's going to be like our family and then like very small selection of friends. This is all right. Last one is what it's affectionately been called by many 4 of us. We are a deep-rooted family of 6. We have with us 4 of the males in our family. We also have a mom and a sister, and then our loving significant others.
Shout out.
Duncan, why don't you take away the introduction, or
Yeah.
I can just start it and then you like follow if you want. But
Yeah, sure. My name's Duncan. I'm the eldest boy of the Stevens kids.
chalk 1.
Shock 1. Oh, yeah, from our intro. Shock 1. Let's see. I live in Seattle. I will be turning 37.
What's your address?
Very tired. 2 young kids. I'm the best thrower out of all of them.
Mhm. We did play with a lot of vortexes and footballs and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Best thrower is not that. That's true.
That's
That's
yeah.
true. I don't even think
That's a
Cameron
fact.
knows how to throw a football.
Yeah. A couple things passed Cameron by being Shock 4.
He survived.
He can cook an egg, though.
He can cook an egg.
Yeah.
I don't
How
want to take
long-
from his intro.
How long did it take you to learn how to boil an egg?
I still don't boil
After
eggs.
he left home. After he left the house.
Oh, it's starting. All right, you're up.
Yeah, I'm Tyler. I am 32 years old. On long gaming nights, I have to pee in the sink to not wake up my wife.
You do what you got to do.
The games require it. It is law. It is known.
Do you like?
Oh,
run
I'm
the
Chuck-
wa-
I'm
do you
Chuck
run
too.
the water while you pee in the sink?
No, because that also wakes her up.
So
what
you
if
just
there's like
pee into a dry sink?
Yeah,
and then you walk away.
this
from
is
it.
actually true. Over COVID, the games are flying. You got to go pee, so you just get up to go pee. Bailey, over the summer, my wife, put a stopper in the sink.
Oh God.
So then I alleviate myself with a full bladder, only to realize that like
It's not draining.
it's not draining. So had to put hand in said warm
Piss.
liquid
You brought that on yourself.
to drain it. But enough about peeing in sinks. Cameron.
Yep. I'm Cameron. I'm Chalk 4. I'm 27 years old. I am the youngest. I am the probably best cook after mom, and I have sleep apnea.
Can confirm.
It's scary.
Yep.
It's scary to sleep with you.
The doctors say I stop breathing for at least 60 seconds every 3 minutes when I'm sleeping.
Dude.
And
Were
you
you-
probably stop breathing off on an exhale. So it's not like you're holding oxygen in your body for 60
Yeah, yeah.
seconds. That's brutal.
It's cool.
You look good.
Oh, yeah.
Of which, guys, we look good. Like, we look good.
Yeah, everybody give the cameras
we
a
look-
point here.
We look good. For those listening via ears, we do also have video going just for memories, I think, which we'll get to here in a second. But Dad, why don't you give us a little bit of a who you are, ASL, and
What
we'll
you're
take it
all
from
about.
there.
I forgot what ASL is. I wanted to double down on your looking good, like for a bunch of sink peers and snorers and
Work from
Nerf
homers.
ball throwers. You actually are pretty good.
Yeah, we have that soft body because we all work from
pretty
home.
good looking young guys, actually. I don't know why my age would be important.
It's
but
not. You don't have
It's
to.
too late.
Yeah, it's like
everybody else did
gotta
it.
say
So yeah, my
did
name's
mine.
Brian. I'm the proud sire and patron of these group of young men. I'm 62. Happy to be here. Happy to be 62. What was the ASL thing again?
That's
Age.
90s. Age, sex, language.
Well,
Age,
we-
sex, location. Sorry. Age,
Mhm.
sex, location. I told
Uh,
Larry wrong last
yeah, because
night.
you would imply whatever you're typing
Yeah,
is your
like-
primary
Exactly.
language.
Like, why would I care?
I
what
already know
language?
that.
Exactly. So yeah, never mind about the ASL.
Yeah, my sex location is private.
Privates. I think the next logical.
What's that Batman skit, that meme where they're, they're doing the Batman thing and he talks about, we had sex many times in many holes. And he goes, in an order of which would surprise you.
Oh, yeah. That college humor.
College
Batman,
humor,
yeah.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
I'm justice. I think. Why don't you tell us a little about? I think what I can do too is through a series of ramblings
Yeah.
is like talk about the purpose of why we're doing this.
I have a thought on that
Okay.
that I had thought of when we were driving to Culver's and putting this off for another hour.
Yep.
I feel like the impetus of this has been for years. You've like joked about writing a book or like capturing this stuff in some sort of medium that would allow you to share it after the fact or scale it out to some degree.
Mhm.
And I think we just got so sick and fucking tired of hearing
Mhm.
about that
Mhm.
Tyler went off and got all the skills he needed to run a professional podcast. And so instead of writing the book, you're just going to say it into this thing.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of, at least to me, like,
No,
one of, like
I
the-
think you hit it on the impetus, whatever that word means. And
Too big of a
Not what you think.
yeah, not a.
Yeah, my name's
the order
Duncan.
might
My name's
surprise you.
Duncan. I use big words.
I have the big word. I think we have a very natural way of just doing exactly this: sitting down, having primarily whiskey, of which shout out Yamazaki 12, a lovely Japanese single malt. Not sponsored. Not
Please
sponsored.
sponsor us.
Please sponsor us.
Please sponsor us. Where we do just kind of like we're a family of 6. We all live in different areas of the country. Some are on West Coast, some are, Midwest is best. And when we sit down, we do have this natural way of just gravitating towards a storyteller. And I think you and Mom fit that bill really well. You more so as a
Gregarious storytelling individual.
absolutely. You have a very natural way of telling it. And over the years, it always comes back to your service time, your 20-year career. And I think about 4 or 5 years ago, I started writing down on a notepad on my phone of these stories because that impetus of You always wanted to write a book. You've written some articles. You have a very amazing way of storytelling.
Lazy fuck.
Yeah, like
It was never going to happen.
All of these can be true at once.
they can't. There's no downside.
Yeah.
You know, it just takes the time that it takes.
It is what it is.
So then when it got to the point where the notepad was filled, it's just a never-ending fill, I started to do this process map because every time we get together, we're just like,
Nice.
Now we have to start over.
That was one of the things not to do, right?
Ruin the audio. My God, it's almost gone.
Keep going. You were on a
I
roll.
don't know what I
Hold it together.
I don't know what
like you were writing in your notepad on your phone, the
Yeah.
stories.
Yeah. So the stories, once it got to a point and we were constantly just like, we need to do this. We need to do this. Very big into Steven's tradition. Eventually it happens. I think a lot of it is just, it's the talk of it. And we're all busy. We got kids, we got families, we're moving out to be with long distance girlfriends. And finally, somewhere, somehow, I decided to like just start it. And it did just kind of get some legs. It got some legs going. It got some structure. It
When we were
was
at
a
the
lot of fun.
VFW that one day,
Yeah.
actually putting a little bit of intent behind like,
Totally.
what could this look like?
Yeah, the VFW, like I think that was over the summer this year, July, over 4th of July weekend or something. And it did just kind of scratch a very itchy itch and gave us some like, oh shit, this is very possible. And I was super happy to just start it. That's all it was. It was just to start it. And now we're here, and a lot of it does revolve around, like I said, your service career. So I'll stop.
Yeah, I mean, just a couple of things I would add to that real quick. I think as a family, we have a storytelling lineage that goes back.
Yeah.
Right. And spending time with my dad, my dad, John, has stage 4 dementia. We're, as a family,
Also known as mush brain.
Mush brain.
Oh, mush
Well,
brain.
Mush brain.
Yeah. If you're going to make fun of him, get it right.
Yeah.
post this brain.
Yeah, of which is
Yeah.
very dark and macabre, but
Yeah.
like it's good.
But still,
It's good.
with what he has left, he still is a good storyteller. And I can see where that like giving part of sharing and the importance, almost tribal importance of sharing information with your family, to keep those memories alive, to keep those stories alive, to build a bridge to your ancestry. And I think for me, Tyler, when you make that connection to the military career, honestly, our altruistic vision is really to capture these stories for history, so that when those stories are talking about someone that's not with us anymore, we've done them justice and we've captured that story, and maybe we've learned a lesson, and other people can take advantage of that. So I think as we start, we should probably remind ourselves and anybody else that the 6 people that are listening to this is that's all we're trying to do is capture a patchwork of stories and let that guide us to what can happen next. Right. So
Totally.
I think there's like perspectives too, right? Because you had the 20-year active duty career. We were all just dependents. I go further back into that line than these two, but like, yeah, anybody who served has probably served alongside their family who had to go through a lot of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's
Yeah.
big team effort.
I also wanted to say just real quick, I think the other thing that brought us to this point was being a fan of others that are doing podcasts that are interesting. You guys, you two especially, I think on long drives are listening to podcasts. I know Bailey listens to them all the time. There are things that are super interesting, and then there's things that competitively you think, I think we could add something that's not being done.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
In a way that's unique to how we interact often.
Mhm.
And so that was the impetus to a certain extent, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, there's very real intent behind what we're attempting to do. I think we talk about it in our process flow of like the selfish side of it is for us and no one else. Where like
Yeah.
everybody else be
Listen to it or
damned.
don't.
Yeah,
I
like
don't care.
we're trying to cement a lot of memories in time so that like in your eventual demise, however it goes, we will have
I think
this
demise kind of covers all of it. You know what I mean? Like, it's a demise. So
we have these down where like grandpa upstairs also, by the way, we're in John and Karen's lifelong home.
Brian's mom and dad.
Yeah, Brian's mom and dad, their lifelong home, our kids' home. Like this is
Steven's base camp.
This is the only place over a 20-year Air Force career that has been a permanent location in our lives. Where like I know my number. I moved 4 countries, 9 places over the course of 17 years.
Oh yeah,
and like this is the only place within that storied career and storied family history where one place is always there. So it is kind of amazing to also bring us back and have this opportunity to do this because, like you said, Grandpa has stage 4 dementia. His mush brain is very real, and it would be absolutely tragic if you follow that line. Let me just say that. If we keep drinking these and like we don't take care of our bodies and we don't meditate or we don't take care of our brains, like it's scary. Hence why we're doing it.
Yeah, there's a time. There's a timer.
I would say too that over the years, as this naturally comes up, we're all hanging around and start telling stories. There's been a lot of people who are ancillary or like tangential to like our family orbit that come in, come out, friends, girlfriends, whatever. And a lot of times when you start rolling with your PJ stories, people who have no idea what the acronyms mean, who these people are we're talking about, like the human element of these stories really draws people in. Like I can think of many of my friends over the years that one of their highlights when they just came over to my house to hang out was like getting your dad to like tell those crazy PJ stories. And, you know, for people who are outside of that career field and don't really have any firsthand experience with it, they still connect with that stuff. And that, I think, I don't know, for me personally, that's another reason to do this because it's cool to share that because I think it humanizes so much of what normally just gets kind of blown into like these big other categories that get missed of like, what do a bunch of bored, young, super jacked special forces dudes do in their spare time? Like those stories don't get the Tom Clancy book and movie deal. I think they're better though.
Absolutely. No, you're totally right. Like shout out to the Bung Boys too. Cause like that was what I wanted to do for a bachelor party. Like my bachelor party last year, I'm recently married. Hi Bailey.
Are we going to tell the 6 people listening what else is going on in your life?
No, we'll save that for another time. But like, because it is so unique, I really did want to just share that with my immediate loved ones of like going out and just having an experience. And very naturally, as was evident of like finishing off a wonderful day of shooting rifles, riding horses, riding side by sides in the mountains,
catching fish,
shoot that fucker. In the middle of Montana, like we would break out primarily alcohol. It's very macabre. Let me just take a quick sidebar. There's a very macabre side of this because we're very aware of the poison that we're ingesting into our bodies and how it will ultimately lead to mush brain. But it is just too damn good. You know, like
we don't drink bad poison.
No, we don't drink. Well,
well, I don't discriminate.
Cold snacks.
Yeah.
I won't say it.
Yeah,
we like our.
They can sponsor us too.
We like it.
Kentucky cold snacks.
Yeah. You know, like day's done, alcohol comes out, the stories start coming out. Cameron got hog tie, zip tied for an hour and a half because he wanted to, and Tony, the Adonis that he is, obliged.
Yeah, and I think I can bring us all. We can tie a lot of what we've been talking about in a way it's been trialed. We practiced this in multiples. You know, it started with us and our family. We started to notice that other people around, to Duncan's point, enjoyed it as well. We actually started to kind of step into it a bit where we mashed up groups that had no understanding of the military background at all, or Chris, just no opportunity to have connected to it. And then we sort of mashed Chris with one of the 40-year-old operators that we know, and we went on your bachelor party, and we realized not only was that a great experience, but it was bilaterally interesting, right? We trusted some connections that we saw, and that's sort of what we're doing here today, right? But maybe we should just do some of it now.
It transcends beyond just like, you don't have to be in. There are very human aspects to these stories where I think we touch on it in our own little dialogue of just like, it's about spooky shit and like operator stuff, but it's also just about like the very everyday happenings of being a part of a team and something, and a tight knit group of individuals that you genuinely care about, and I don't know, it's having a good time, like too on the nose. It's like,
I don't think so.
No. I feel like I lost my train of thought there. Sometimes I just start talking and I don't even remember.
Post edits.
Yeah, like I don't even know where I'm going.
When
I'm
you
thinking
get-
of Michael Scott where
when
he's
you
like,
get lost
sometimes
like
I don't
that,
even know.
Sometimes I start a sentence. I don't even know.
People will think you're doing.
Grandpa, is that you?
Yeah, maybe like, bring this in for a landing. The TLDR here is our dad, Brian, had a 20-year Air Force career. 3 of his 4 dependents have decided to capture a lot of his stories into a podcast, and we're recording it in the family anchor point that is Galena, Illinois, where he was raised.
The Shire.
The Shire. And we think you're going to get a kick out of this stuff.
So if you didn't want to listen to the 15 minutes of us rambling and talking in circles, go to this minute mark, listen to that 10-second recap.
But we're giving them
That's
the
it.
minute mark at the minute mark, so
We'll-
they don't know what the
fix it
minute
in
mark
post.
was in the beginning.
You guys say we'll fix it in post. None of you know what that is.
What post
You'll
is?
fix it in post.
You just yell post at it, and then it'll work. That's my understanding.
What
You
Dave
send
say?
it to the post.
We also have yet to mention what career Dad had.
I think that's important.
Perfect. Cameron, you've said so much today and you hit it on the head.
Well, it's all high value. When he does speak, it's very high value.
Why don't you start the interview? You know, like ask the question.
Talking about. Tell us about your 20-year Air Force career.
What'd you do?
When you went in, who it was?
Start from the recruiter.
Yeah, I was going to. If you guys ever stop.
No, I'm saying start from the recruiter. The
Literally, I
pamphlet.
was about to do that when you said start from the recruiter.
Start from the recruiter.
Go ahead and start from the recruiter.
Well, I'm going to back it up from there a little bit.
From
the recruiter. We're 26 minutes in and we haven't.
Jesus Christ.
Is that battery light flashing for a reason? Yeah, so I'm going to go. Let's go do this fast, and then let's get to talking about stuff, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, so I was a member of a career field called Pararescue in the Air Force, and those men that do that job are given the nickname PJs. So if you've heard of PJs or you've heard of Pararescue, that's what we're talking about. And I graduated in high school from Galena High School. I was a pirate and graduated in 1980. Kind of a solid C minus student.
I wouldn't put that in recording.
C minus athlete other than football. And, not real sure what I was going to do. My dad had been in the Air Force for 8 years. And that, I think, was one of the reasons why I went and talked to the recruiter. And due to a personality disorder that I found a lot of other PJs shared with me when I went in, the recruiter had a pamphlet and had a couple hundred jobs in the pamphlet. And I was just scanning down and I got to
Pallet loader.
That's later. I didn't realize how good they were. And I read Pararescue, at which point the recruiter said, I don't know much. It's hard to get into. I don't even really know how you would get into it. And I just basically said, I want to do that. And it was just like a hook, like a fish hook. And, long story, Mom put me on a bus because I was 17 years old. She had to sign me up when I was 17, and then she put me on a bus out of here. And
I definitely thought it was 18. I didn't know it was 17.
Yeah, I turned 18 in basic training, actually. And then,
that's when you had your first beer, I'm sure, too.
yeah, a cold one.
Not one that's been sitting in a river in a cardboard box.
Out of the crick. So was blessed, right? Like blessed with the best team of individuals that helped me through that training that was difficult. Shout out to 82001. And
That's
I'm
what this means.
That's 92003.
Well, I'm just saying.
82001/B.
/B.
Slash
Yeah.
B.
We'll get into
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about what Pararescue
What is
is
it?
too, because
Yeah,
it's
so
it's
basically it is the only career field in the United States military and also the best career field in the world at doing this mission, which is when someone's hurt and injured and in a difficult place to get to, or they're inside of a contested area where people don't want you to get to that person and help them. This is a group of individuals that are raised and trained and, we would say almost bred to do that work. So if someone's hurt anywhere on the planet, literally, and we need to bring them home, this group is the group that goes in and does that and does that work. And they do it extremely well.
Mm-hmm.
What's the motto that summarizes that up? Pretty well?
The motto is that others may live.
It's a very dark and truthful way of life.
Yeah,
working.
and I think part of our story, right? So if you think about there's a certain amount of sacrifice that's inherent in that motto, right? That others may live. That means whatever it takes, whatever the work, whatever the sacrifice is, right? And I think that over time, what I came to realize is that when pilots and sailors and SEALs and Rangers are doing what they do so well, and they know that there is a group of people that are behind them that when tasked will come to help, it actually helps those forces push further, deeper, right? I mean, I know, no SEAL is going to tell you that they do what they do because there's PJs behind them. That's just bullshit.
They're too busy
flip up all their fingers and say another.
Well, we're doing podcasts.
There's a friend of mine named Josh who it says that every PJ he's ever met always talks about it's the PJs that come to get the SEAL. So yeah, but I'm not talking about the physical nature of coming to get them. I'm talking about the realization that as a culture, as a military culture, we actually have a group that's been selected, highly trained. They've been given almost unlimited budgets in some sense to say, what would it take to build a small team? And that, our small team is
when you say too, like small, I don't want to jump down here, but talk about too, like how small it really is.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I was my career field is probably important to share, is sort of went from the 80s to, my class 82001, I got to my first unit in January of 82. And all of you guys and I retired in 2001, February of 2001. And at that point in time, there might have been 350 guys, at least active duty, and then maybe another 100.
350 guys.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was at that time a small number. Relatively speaking, I'm sure the percentage would be as small today. The number, all the numbers probably went up, and so maybe there's 500 PJs, 600 PJs.
But still, think about how many people are reservists, active duty.
Yeah.
That is an exceptionally small percentage.
Now, it's also important to note, right, that so when I talk about rescue, pararescue specifically, no job in the military is a standalone job.
Sure.
There's not one career field that does one thing that doesn't rely on literally every other role in the military. And
shout out pallet loader.
yeah, your shit isn't going to be there. It's like really important. At war. So, I'm just saying that this career field that I was a part of, our specific job was to be the end of the chain to literally reach out and touch the individual that was hurt and needed to come home. We were the human connection at the end of a very long chain of aircraft, fighters, fuelers, air crew members, maintenance people, supply people, the people that worked in the cafeteria, all that stuff has a part to play. And, it's taken me a long time. When you're young, you think none of that works without you. And when you get a little older, you realize you don't work without them. Right. So we'll talk a little bit about my career field, but I think, people should understand it's not egotistically driven.
There's a little bit.
Yeah.
That's you thinking about it now.
Again, that took my 20 years and then 40 years after that. So that's it. That's proof. No, there's a great backstory, great history. It wasn't always there, right? And
it's relatively new from Vietnam.
Yeah. Well, in the 40s, there was a plane that crashed, and a bunch of people were stuck in Burma, in the forest, in the forest in Burma, in the jungle.
Trees. Trees. Semantics. Big ass bugs.
And a doctor and a couple of medics, I think, volunteered to parachute into the jungle to treat the survivors for the months that it would literally take to be able to get somebody into them to get them out, right? So they basically did what would happen today if that mission set happened today. They did it with, no training, just nothing. Just throw me into the jungle. I can help. And probably that embodies when we talk about some of the loss and maybe even later today, I think it's important to put that into context is, what would someone that would step out of an aircraft over top of a jungle with no fucking radios or water and all they know is there are 20 people that are hurt and nobody else is going to go and a lot of them will die.
One person, 20 or one,
right?
Doesn't
And that whatever that is what's tied me to a lot of real special people over time. And that's the impetus of the stories, right? So
I feel like just to jump in real quick, I always took a lot of pride growing up, living on base, like all this kind of stuff, like, it is pretty cool. Like, every kid I went to school with, their parents had some role on that Air Force base, right? And there was always this like kind of flexing going on the playground. My dad's a fighter pilot. I'm like, yeah, well, who's going to come get your dad if he crashes into the forest? Like the PJ like card was enough to trump basically anything. And I always liked that job statement, the core mission statement, it's like rooted in compassion. Like the primary objective is not aggression. It's actually the opposite of that.
Yeah.
And like how many actual jobs lead with that, right? What military or civilian, it doesn't matter. Like the primary objective of this career is to help someone.
Yeah.
You get all this extra training so you can pull it off on the side of a mountain or in a bad spot. But I always thought that was super cool that like, you say, yeah, my dad was in the military, and people probably by default think like, okay, held a rifle, went into combat, flew something, blah, blah. Like, well, he might have kind of done some of that stuff, but it was always rooted in like, go get someone, help them, bring them back, make sure that kid's mom or dad could come home to them.
Yeah. Like I think it needs to be stated too, that it's, we've said like the jungles, forests of Burma, mountainsides of, I don't know, Afghanistan, like the base canyon of the Grand Canyon, the middle of the Pacific or the Atlantic. Like it is anywhere on the face of the planet.
Yeah.
Reservists working at Katrina. There's that really famous story of that guy picking up the little girl.
Yeah.
She calls him like a unicorn riding a bear, or bear
for the
riding
6 people who were listening, those Thai kids that were stuck in the cave or whatever.
Yeah.
PJ
Totally.
like helped get them out.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's these really like convoluted. No one's ever tried this before.
One way to think about it too. And again, this isn't, pointing fingers at other careers, but that we have a peacetime mission.
Role. Yeah.
So, if you're kicking indoors and shooting people in the face, hopefully you're not doing a whole lot of that on the weekends. You know what I mean? I mean, you got to be good at it. I give you that.
Yeah, sure.
There's probably places on earth, like, I don't care, go practice, but there were many times that
you just kind of said it too. Like they're also weapons training too, where like, if they're in a really bad way, like they have the ability to ultimately make their main objective, which is just to get people home safely.
Yeah.
You had a pretty unique, like, your dice roll, just based on what year you were born, what year you enlisted.
Yeah.
The time frame that he went
20
in.
years of basically
not a lot of combat.
not a lot of global conflict.
Yeah.
Because you got out right before 9/11.
Yeah.
And you went in kind of after the Cold War kind of.
Well, no, not after the Cold War, but after Vietnam, right?
Yeah.
So Vietnam ended, I think, in deepest terms in 75, and I went in 80. So all of my instructors, the pilots that I flew with, you know, basically the whole ethos, it was a post-Vietnam, you know, the really interesting thing that I started my career with was this post-Vietnam ethos, which meant people that I worked for understood war and combat very, very well.
Yeah.
I mean, and doing war and combat with a 38 on your side with
6-shooter,
straight green camis rolled up with your sleeve rolled up, and you're flying in a fucking helicopter that can't go more than 50 miles away from the base, and you're not, you know, you can't fly at night. Like, and they were still loading their balls on a big pallet and pushing it out to the airplane,
Shout out
and
pallet
going
loaders.
out to save people's lives. You know what I mean? So, but when they came home, you know, you know, at that point in time, there were multiple types of rescue units. So, you know, sometimes we had Huey units that were up in Idaho, and they just did nothing but civilian rescue. They didn't have any military, or they didn't have any deployment. They wouldn't go if something happened. If the balloon went up, they were not going to be the first unit to go. But there were other units that did go and did train to be the first couple to go. So even though it was peacetime, I was a part of those units that had a combat mission to prepare for. And because of that, we had the leadership that basically was challenging us all the time to not think in the terms of today, but to think in the terms of the future. And that the life they lived in the late 60s and early 70s, it was definitely coming back. It's just inevitable that it would be coming back, right? So, and that mixed with no money, no budget, because there was no war, so nobody was going to pay for shit.
It's not that you didn't have a budget. It's like you didn't have money for a budget. There was no budget. It's not that you had unlimited budget. It's that you had no budget because there was no funding.
And so here's a great example, right? Is that, you know, today, post Afghanistan, post Iraq, post the, you know, 10 years of real hardcore combat, every PJ's locker is full of every piece of kit that's the best in the world for any situation. I mean, literally the best in the world. You know, there's just their Pararescue
Pro gear.
Pro gear.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
Pro gear.
So, I mean, you know, if it's made or if it wasn't made, then they would design it and have it made for them, right? But when I was in, there was no budget in the unit to be able to pay for gear like that. So, like the need being the mother of invention, we had guys that would go to the parachute section and work on the sewing machines and build chest carriers for ammo, right? For 5.56 loads. They would take an old underarm LPU harness and re-rig it for a chest thing. And that, I still have that today, right? And for 5 years, that was the coolest piece of gear in the Air Force. We'd go to other units. They'd be like,
it's custom made.
Where the fuck did you get that? Tim Ryan made it. That's where we got it. So that's what I mean is the, you know.
Sorry, keep going.
No, I was just going to say, thank God for the leaders that knew that this was coming back, because what they did is they injected in my career, my era, this expectation that to live a soft life in peacetime was the fool's game, because you were going to lose when you needed to be ready. And so, you know, it's a pain in the ass when you're on PJ, when people are like, yeah, don't go jump unless you have a fucking ruck and a gun and an O2 mask. You know what I mean? Even though it's a sunny day in Northern California and, you know, you'd like to get 6 jumps in one day instead of 2 with all this equipment, right? So, you know, definite shout out to the people that knew it was coming back, right? And set that tone for us.
One last thing as background.
All right, last one.
All right.
Last one.
Oh, there it was.
Well, let's do we have time
All
for
right,
that?
no, that's fine.
No.
Go ahead.
Chalk 4, everybody.
Shut up, Cameron.
Stay on track. I'm just saying, I don't want to stop till we talk about somebody, you know. So
Yeah,
let's do
yeah.
the JWide thing. Yeah.
No, we're not. That's last.
I thought you were
Go
shut-
ahead.
shutting
No,
it off.
there's no setup for that. Hold on.
Cameron, everybody.
Fix it in post.
now you got to say something.
Yeah. Well, I had two things actually, but now I cut one
Set
out.
yourself up, and then you just took yourself out.
I don't know what the current rates are. I think I
like
looked
attrition
a while
rates?
ago. But if when you went in 82, 81,001, whatever it is,
Flashby.
how many people started training in doc and how many people finished?
Oh,
and
your
then what are
washout
the
rate?
percentages
Attrition rate.
that you could ballpark right now of what the attrition rate is?
Yeah, I mean, for us, my specific class, we probably had 60 guys start. And so if you start with that 60, but you back up that, when I was in basic training, they would show this video. They would show this video of
Just scooch in a little, like scooch in a half. Sorry, we're like trying to. Dad likes to talk with his hands a lot, so naturally he kind of removed himself from.
Please hold.
what do words on window mean?
Speaking of,
Cameras
quick sidebar. If you've ever been on a AFSOC Instagram account, you've probably seen a picture of Dad.
Oh, yeah.
On the fucking helicopter.
Yeah, he and whoever he's sitting next to.
Who are you sitting next to?
Mark Crawford.
Face paint.
Is that the one you mean?
It's sick
watch.
mustache, 2 rifles, like a rolled up bandana.
Big ass watch.
Yeah. And then that apparently has just now entered the public domain.
It gets posted on Reddit like
it's
twice
once a
a
month.
year.
Yeah.
I'm just like, that's
and
my
Rip
fucking
Tim
dad.
Ryan, one of my best friends, one of the best PJs of all time. He's
Yep.
the guy that took that picture. We'll talk about that picture later.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Thank you to our sponsors.
Cameron asked about how many people quit.
Yeah.
Ring the bell.
Start from. You said we had 60 people in our class. Just start there.
Yeah. So we had 60 people in our class and we had 12 people graduate.
60 people, 12 people graduate.
Yeah. But that's not the whole story. That's the 60 people that started the class, right? So if you back up from that, every flight, literally every young man that came into the Air Force on maybe the third week, third day, I think it's third week of a 6-week basic training, you came into a room and one of the instructors, I was an instructor at Lackland for a period of time, would come into that room with every young man that had raised their hand.
That tall one over there.
Yeah. not everyone, because there's some of them be like, yeah, not you. We can save you a little time. But it was everyone that had the spirit. And shout out to that. Like, I would tell you right now that, again, as a dad, as an older man, as someone who's seen loss, and I think my perspectives have changed, I will tell you that anybody that walked into that room with the intent of doing this work I will raise this glass to them, right? Because if it's in your heart, it's in your heart. It doesn't mean that God's given you the physical ability to do that, but if it's in your heart, you can find a way to be true to that. So I would tell anybody who's had any kind of doubt about who they are or what they can do because they didn't make it through that training, you're special and you should find a way to prove it, right? And I'll help you.
No, yeah,
So-
I think that's really important to say that.
Yeah.
Just because you didn't make it doesn't mean like you don't have it in you.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have it in you, but like, you don't have it in you.
Yeah.
You know, like, it's
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
one of
Suck
the-
at swimming.
yeah, like, but like
Your heart's in it.
dude. Yeah, like we support you and thank you for your service.
Yeah. So anyway, we would probably have hundreds, right? In a month or, we would run a class every, I don't know, maybe there were 8 classes a year, 10 classes a year or something like that. So you'd aggregate everybody that would pass this initial test. It was a test called the PASS test. So all the kids that went to the physical and stamina,
Clever.
physical and stamina test. Yeah.
Wait, was it an acronym?
Physical and stamina test.
All right, I
So
stand
pass.
corrected then.
Past
Clever.
test.
Pretty clever.
Yeah. The quick smart ass of the group has just been identified.
Well, you phrase it as this
forgot
past
my
test was
intro.
called the past test.
I'm a little sassy.
Mean girl, everybody.
He likes the finer things.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this about Duncan.
No, I would be in that finer things club.
He likes
Yeah.
the finer things.
Yeah.
Goddamn right I do.
So anyway, everybody, and those videos were really cool, right? There was some great production stuff from the 70s that showed Vietnam rescues. And
those VHSs. We
It
gotta
would-
find
and
those.
cool music. And I mean, it was,
all
think-
copyright.
Think about,
You won't be hearing that on this
Yeah.
you know,
podcast.
think
We
about,
can't pay for
think
that.
about someone, say Cameron's age compared to me in the 80s. No way to really find information. I mean,
That's true.
I didn't know
Mm.
dick about the career field. I'd never heard of it before.
It was a pamphlet.
Ever.
Yeah.
I read the word on a pamphlet.
in the
Mhm.
Dubuque Kennedy Mall, wasn't
yeah.
it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then a guy told me that you can't
You
get
can't-
there from here.
You can't do that.
And then I really didn't know. So then he told me, well, you're going to have to take this test and you're going to have to run a mile and a half. You're going to swim 1,500 meters. You're going to have to do a bunch of cows. So I was like, well, I think, I don't know how to swim really. I can drink beer and jump around a lake. That's life here. But I did know at least that much. So, your mom and I would climb over the fence at the pool in Galena and I would swim a little
really?
bit. She'd watch me so I didn't hit my head and drown.
That was a real concern.
Well, later I found out it was. I didn't know it was then. As I said, I didn't know what swimming was. And so, boom, boom, boom. So everybody that went to the show that then watched the show and said, hell yeah, I want to do that. And I do think that when
What's
they
the
show
show?
that movie, that selection
Like
movie.
they showed
montage.
Oh, the
Yeah.
montage. I see.
Yeah. And if I remember back when I watched it, it was the only males could be in the career field. I think it's close to still true. It's maybe changing.
But it's not too that it's a male. It's male dominated because of
At the time,
the requirements.
because of combat specifically.
Oh,
There was-
okay.
that has changed. There's, again, shout out to the Ranger ladies that are kicking ass.
Killing bad
Mm.
guys.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
no man.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah. What happens to you when a woman kills you, bitch?
I am no match.
Yeah.
Dude,
So-
woman power.
Yeah. So again,
Yeah, dude.
the things I talk about at that time are not the things that any of us, I think, champion every single level of, right? But at that time it was guys. But I think that when I did it, there were women in the room. So probably the reason I raised my hand in that room was I wanted all those girls to think I was doing this badass job. You know what I mean? So,
Well.
hey, ladies, I read the pamphlet.
I know what I'm joining.
Yeah. So then everybody on a Saturday showed up and you would have to run a mile and a half, you would have to swim, and you'd have to do these cowls. And later, when I was an instructor, we realized you should do the swim first because nobody can swim 1,500 meters. So then you don't have to run. Just do the cowl.
We can get out of here by lunch.
With the other knuckleheads. Let them all drown. They go home. And literally, it changed to 500 meters because we realized whether we did 1,500 or 5.
Didn't matter. You were quitting by
Didn't matter.
450.
You were quitting
Yeah.
by 200, right?
Yeah.
So-
Saved your guys' time.
Dude,
yeah.
You know?
Distance swimming blows, by the
Well,
way.
yeah, for those that don't know,
the
Duncan,
sprinter of the family.
Yeah.
for those that don't know, Duncan swam in college for 2 years.
Yeah.
D1, Truman State.
Well, D2.
Oh, I thought it was
D1.
D1.
No, it was D2.
D2B.
Yeah.
D1B.
I swam a fast 50. Anything after that was
Yeah.
bonus. Yeah, shout out Bulldogs. Swimming's hard. Where's that Lagavulin?
Should we take a
I'll go get it. Just tell me where it is. Yeah, I can
well, I
keep going
need to
with.
pee.
Okay.
We might want to break.
But I think we can just keep going.
Zipping around, having a good time.
All right. So
One can only hope.
while we have the PD water prep going on, Whiskey Boy doing his thing. Just to finish the selection thing, very simply, it was an easy thing to raise your hand to do and a really hard thing to ultimately do.
Accomplish.
Right. Because it was designed to both test your physical ability to a really, really high level, but also test your personal reason for choosing to do this work. So if we go back to the motto, right, and we say, that others may live, the training was designed to find out if you were there for the right reason. If you were there because
There were girls.
if
in
you
the
were there to
hall.
purely be this badass
Mhm.
and prove to the world that you could be one of these people, typically you probably didn't make it through
Yeah.
because you really need to have a calling.
That deeper.
And that's the reason why, you know, Richie and Jason will talk about those two guys dying in a helicopter accident in Korea. But, you know, when people think about mediators and these types of jobs, and you think about rescue guys, and you might think about a certain body style. And I'm here to tell you that some of the best that I've ever met are people that you wouldn't see in a crowd.
Little
And they
gray
are
man.
people that fought the hardest. They showed up at that training with something that was missing.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, how you doing?
There he is, everybody. Man of the hour. What you need?
Hanging.
We are in the middle of telling a little bit of story time kind of thing. No. I think what we need to do is just get you a chair. So you
Yeah,
can
just pull up a chair right
sit
there.
right,
Why don't
right
you
on
put
the
him
edge.
between? For those that are not watching the video, our grandfather
John just woke up.
John woke up from a lovely nap, so we're gonna pull him up a chair.
Yeah.
Unless you don't want to.
I'm just saying out. Yeah, Dad's telling stories.
Okay.
You know the deal.
Put him between you. We'll put him in the middle.
Yeah, get him on the nice camera.
Yeah.
Hey, not so close, brother.
No, he's good.
No, yeah, he's good. He's good.
Little break for what are we drinking now, Cam? The Yamazaki lasted a whopping.
Well, there's actually a little bit left. We could give him.
No, there's not.
No, there's not.
No, I'll take it.
This is the
I eat the gristle.
Lagavulin Distiller's Edition.
I
What
don't.
was this, 11 years?
I don't know
12
what the
years?
distiller edition is. It's usually like a 16-year, but
Dude, target audience. Like, we got a wide aperture here. You Scotch drinker?
Oh,
You'll
they're-
like this podcast.
Pedro Jimenez casks.
Oh, is that
That's
what?
cool.
Okay, cool.
So we're doing a podcast. We're talking about stories and stuff like that. So
We haven't got to the stories yet. So.
Yeah, we're 56
We will
minutes. You know,
get
like
to the story
we
eventually.
don't have the
We'll fix
stories
it
quite
first.
yet.
So we're what was I talking about?
Attrition rates.
No. We were way
Yeah,
past
we
that.
were
well
Nah.
past that.
Yeah,
it was
okay.
it was
Don't get him
if you
started.
didn't have it in the heart,
get him
if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, those were the people
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
were
You-
generally
and-
The
the
physical specimen who just
I
wanted to show
mostly
off
asked
was not.
To have a quick flex and level set with the audience that might not know that being a PJ is very hard and very selective, and it's a very highly challenging field to get into.
Yeah.
And this ain't
Mm.
easy shit to do.
Yeah. So that what I would
when
just
people say like special forces.
yeah. So I had a SEAL one time, kid that we're going to talk about
We'll get
the needle in the neck guy.
Oh,
Right?
cool, yeah.
And we talked about that one time. We talked about selection courses and statistics, and he had a great way of putting it. He was like, "Look, you can only fuck with somebody so many ways."
This shit sucks.
Like legally, there's only like there's like a list of things you can do to find out whether they want to be there or not, right? And so there are a small group of teams that are really good at knowing how to find out whether you want to be there. And I think from there are numbers behind it, but I think the honest truth is it was a career field that I'm proud that I had a real struggle, physically. I don't think I had the struggle on the heart side.
Heart.
I mean, like I didn't die. My heart was okay.
was
I mean, more
motivated.
like, I
Yeah,
knew
yeah,
I
yeah,
wanted
okay.
to be
I just-
there.
I
I knew
heard
I wanted
heart.
to help people,
Mhm.
right?
Well, it's a little bit of both. Like you didn't have a congenital heart
Oh, that's what I
disease.
meant. I
and
didn't
then also
die.
I see. Like,
yeah.
but you also had the right reasons.
did.
In the literal and figurative sense.
so he
Well,
had a
that's
good
what I-
heart.
yeah, like,
He had
that's
a good
what I
heart
was-
as
yeah, good
a motivation and
Yeah,
a
and part of-
physical component.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Hey, mine's empty. Well,
We should have him introduce
I
himself.
wanted to point out
Give him a
Dad's,
mic.
Dad's not eating anything yet today.
We just poured him a giant Lagavulin.
That's the best way to do it.
Grandpa.
Lean into that microphone. Tell the people who you are.
Tell it. We're gonna give you like a couple prompts. Well, just
Just introduce yourself.
yeah, just introduce
It
yourself.
doesn't
That's
have
all.
to be
That's
hard.
all. That's all.
John Case.
See how I'm sitting, kind of like with this at my mouth. Yeah.
There you go.
So just,
Okay, my name is John K. Stevens Jr., and I got a lot of crap from that middle name.
K,
Oh,
Yeah,
because it's
a little girly.
not so much with me. Oh, maybe a bit.
maybe just a bit. That's perfect.
I've never heard him say that before, by the way. That's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How do you
yeah.
get crap for K?
Well, like
It's
every
a-
kiss
it's a-
begins with K.
I don't think that ad existed when he was.
Yeah.
little.
Dad's initials are BJ.
What did you do in the Air Force? What was your job? Wait, tell the story about they gave you a choice of two jobs. And so you picked the other one.
Pallet loader.
Remember that?
or
No. Remember that?
No, I don't remember. I got up this morning. So.
Cook or cartographer. Remember cook or cartographer? They asked you if you wanted to be a cook. And you said, I know what a cook is.
Yes.
So I want to be a cartographer.
That's
Vigor.
awesome.
Yeah, I'll never forget that.
That's funny.
Well, you just did.
What'd you say?
Nothing.
Oh,
Nothing.
Oh, sweet Jesus.
All right, we're coming back. We're coming back to you.
It's so hot in here.
Yeah. So here we go.
I'm such a.
What's next?
We never finish the attrition rates, but that's
Honestly, dude, like when
just talk about how hard it is.
Yeah. I don't know why. Like when I was young, all I wanted to do is talk about that. You know what I mean? Like I literally have a Galena Gazette newspaper article that I wrote about going through the pipeline. You know, every school, you know, right?
Like he is a writer. Maybe the book would have been easier.
Well, and I would like to shout out to my football coach, Ed Sitchie, because, you know, when you're a young man in a small town like this, I think you're and when you're a little lost, because I don't think that the school system in this small town was set up for someone that had the sort of experiential desire for, you know, all kinds of things, you know, that sort of pedagogical style of someone just saying, you need to remember this date because I'm telling you, you need to remember this date. Like it didn't work with me. Right.
Yeah,
but if somebody would have said, let me tell you about George Washington and why
this is cool.
And why this man was somebody that we basically said, we'll let you be the king. And he said, no, I don't want to be your king. Right. I mean, I wish I would have known what I know now. But anyway, Coach Sitchie was somebody that was the first person I met that wasn't my dad or my grandfather, that was a leader, a male role model. And I think he was somebody that I was very proud to tell what I was doing in the military. My friend John Rignan and I that grew up in this town, we would stay close to him, you know, our coach as we weren't, in high school anymore. But the story that I'm going at is when I wrote this article that was very much talking about statistics and where I graduated in the courses that I went through. I was kind of proud of that story, and you know, it was good. But then I was talking to my coach, and then his wife, who was a teacher, was like, "Hey, I heard you wrote your own story," which just brought me back to earth. You know what I mean? Like, hey, remember, dude, you wrote that, so don't like believe everything that you wrote. But Cameron, to answer your story, right? So, like,
my God, how long ago was that?
When
What's the attrition rate?
when I was later an instructor at Lackland, and I saw the numbers of people that signed up, right? So, I mean, I went through school in 80. It would have been harder then. But when I was an instructor in 92, when I looked at how many kids raised their hands, how many kids showed up on the weekends, how many kids passed, how many kids quit before the course actually started, how many kids failed because of their physical
limitations,
because they had color blindness, they had heart issues, they had asthma. You know, there's a lot of reasons.
Oh, really?
There's a lot of reasons that
asthma would
have an
kick you out,
even if you haven't had a flare up in like years.
Really?
Yeah. And so, you know, there were people that, you know, raised their hand. There were the people that didn't make it through the initial physical test. Then there were people that did not make it through the administrivia to show up till day one. And then there were definitely people that didn't make it to week 2. So when you add all that up, it's like 1,000 people, and maybe 2 people graduate out of 1,000. But that's 1,000. That's 1,000 of saying, I'd like to do that job. You know, when you get down to it, it's the 60 guys that I started with and the 12 that graduated. Right, that was my experience. And
so what I'm thinking is we're gonna like end this one. When you're done with attrition. So finish. I'll say it in a second. Finish your thought. Sorry,
I did already. It was like 2 out of 1,000. I think that's very true. But when not 1,000 people starting the class, that would be a lie. 1,000 people that showed an interest
over a 12-month period.
And it's a very, and I mean, I'm telling you, if the system in the 80s was aggressively weeding people out, right? Like, and then aggressively failing people, sometimes for the right reason, sometimes for somebody's impression of the right reason. You know what I mean? And then when there's no war, that works pretty well, right? Sometimes there were classes that graduated with 2 people. Like I think of several graduating classes on Kirtland's wall. I think
just 2 dudes like holding hands.
I think Danich was one who gave me the greatest gift I've ever had in the Philippines one time, but that's something I can't talk about.
This
now.
is a family show.
Well, no, that's not on the mirror.
No man has ever given me a greater gift.
You gotta be
every time I see him,
that.
I just walk up to him like, dude.
You gotta be.
Well, we got. What is his name?
Add it to the storyboard.
Yeah, what's his name?
I'm saying Danich because I know he was in a class of 2, right? So there were a lot of classes of 2, but that's the thing. Like when there's no war, your standards can be awesomely high, right? Where only these certain people will ever make it through. There's always that dichotomy though of we need people to go do this job. And then really for the last 40 years, that's been the thing is we know what makes a great pararescueman, but we need enough of them to go out and constitute, a victory. So, so when you talk about attrition, it's all of that combined, right? So I'm sorry I belabored that point, but it's not.
I don't think Cameron knew what a loaded question that was.
Well,
I was expecting
Cameron's like 90%
like,
washed out. Moving
well,
on.
I think that's what
popular media
has
dictates
stated.
Knowing that Navy SEALs, Rangers, MARSOC is a incredibly difficult field. I was expecting the answer of the same about as SEALs.
Mm-hmm.
I like the nuance.
No. I think
better.
you've actually
I
distilled
said
it more than like a just flat out number. Because like I've also, like Cameron just said, I've heard the exact same thing of like CNN, PBS, CNBC, whatever, like who do these specials on the PJs. They're always like a 90% attrition rate, like something like that. But I think you've actually hit it better of saying like, well, it's not just that because there's always
it's
interest.
where what's the point in time the attrition rate's being taken?
Yeah,
right?
like
So
where is it in
like,
your
what's inside of your data set?
Yeah,
Are you including everybody that raised their hand? Are you only including the guys that showed up to week 1 in a pair of black shorts and got in the fucking pool when the instructor said get in the pool, right?
Ivor's class was pretty big, wasn't it?
bigger?
Well, it's been bigger, right? Like they've been getting bigger, but their pipeline's 2 years long now because they're doing EMT training. So they're aggregating graduation classes across a broader spectrum.
If somebody got held back in mountain phase.
That probably never happened.
Nobody,
I can think of one time that's
no
happened.
PJ ever has ever been. We'll get to the baloney.
No baloney
I like how we just keep teasing. We're going to tell you stories.
No,
and
but
all
I
we're doing
think
is
this is-
fucking talking about
This is
not
perfect because
stories.
like this is a massive project that has far-reaching
Oh yeah.
capabilities that are just beyond.
When are we going to talk about dead guys?
I think this is actually a really. I think this is a perfect way to end episode 1. While we didn't anticipate a long and
We need
story.
one story.
No, I think let's save that for episode 2. Like we'll just jump.
Just
story.
one. I think just one.
It's all right.
story.
One more.
We're at an hour 10.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
what was
but
the
you're
one?
gonna
What was the
post-
one more?
post it.
No.
Post
No,
that,
this
it's
is where post does not like just magically
Oh God.
reduce time.
Just post.
What?
You gotta have one story. All right.
I think
Here we
this
go.
is. We'll do both. Where we'll just end it here. This is where I can fix it in post. I can create the story. I knew it. This is where we're just gonna like end it and say like, while we did not anticipate a long and storied history for episode 1, I think this is a perfect place to end episode 1 because like we have given the context, we've given more history than anticipated,
Yeah.
and that's like really valuable to our audience of 6 people for where and what we're setting.
I
up.
agree.
Yeah. So I think this is a beautiful way to say good night, goodbye, good morning, hello, goodbye.
I disagree.
I disagree.
Tell the catheter story.
All right, so here's I think wait. Tyler's right. I think that this does have bigger plans. Obviously, this is like a pilot episode. We're going to figure this out. We'll get better.
In post.
Or we won't. And the 6 people listening to this couldn't care less.
That's where I'm saying.
Instead of the storyboard thing, though, where we have
7.
stories queued up, this is literally like, just tell us a story. He pulls one
like just from
the
hat.
ether.
Okay.
And he just tells one story and then we're done.
So I was thinking, again, like this is off podcast, but like I was thinking we could now go into episode 2.
Oh, I see.
So like we've
where
done
you're
the history,
going.
and the history took a natural storytelling
So
segment.
this is so tangent. In D&D, you have a session 0, which is, I'm just talking to you. This doesn't have to go into the podcast.
Well, you might as well
But
just record it.
Yeah.
in Dungeons and Dragons, there's a session 0, which is level setting, which is everyone that is in the campaign sits down and talks
Establish
through
lore.
establish background,
Yeah.
create your characters, talk through how the dungeon master is going to run the campaign. So this, what we have been
I like
recording for the last hour,
Yeah.
is session 0.
Actually, I like that.
So this is
actually-
episode 0.
This is a great way to start into episode 1. Where like we didn't anticipate in episode 0 a level set like you're saying from D&D, but like I think this is a great transition into ending episode 0 and starting episode 1, where we talked about like the whole intent is to just cement these stories in time.
Yeah.
So like while we do have a catalog of stories and stories on deck to tell, I think this is where we start it now.
All right, I agree. End it.
Okay.